Y'all, it is Taylor Bridges here, back with another review of Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 13. This episode is titled, I'm Not Acting Crazy With You Tonight. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I've been appreciating you guys' comments and subscribes and views and just tuning in. I'm so grateful. So thank y'all so much. The assignments for this week's episode include bringing your spouse to a place that just could help tell like more of your story and connect your partner to like your younger self. And then they also have to write a letter to their younger self about a significant point in their lives. Started with Shaq and Kirsten. Shaq pulls up to one of the homes that Kirsten is showing. The home is beautiful. I love them ideating on what it'd be like to live there as a family and having all their kids up and through the house. You know, you have to manifest that life. Say it out loud together. So I really loved that. Kirsten is ready for them to get a house together, and Shaq is not quite ready. He's still paying for school and still needs to like stabilize his finances. It seems like when it's free, everyone is ready to live together and play house. But when it's time to get a place together and pay for it yourself and live as a married couple, people want to clam up. Shaq is starting to sound like Chris. Like, how much time do you need before you need to take it to the next step? Now, granted, yes, I understand the part about being a stranger, but they're coming, like, in a perfect world, they're coming on a show to get married. So you should come with the expectation of maneuvering like a married couple and having to make the necessary changes. So what, you want to, like Chris, live 9 months as a bachelor while still being married, and then after the 9 months live together as a married couple? And shouldn't Shaq have come financially ready since he knew he was coming on the show to get married? Kirsten keeps saying how Shaq needs to buy them a house. Shaq needs to buy them a house. And she just wants to be on the deed. She must not know who she's married to. That's not fair to Shaq. Y'all are in a partnership. You need to be more practical than that, Kirsten. Y'all could do so much more if y'all utilized both of y'all's resources. Like, get real, Kirsten. Stop worrying about what your friends and people on social media and what people are saying. What people are saying their men are doing for them and all of that. Love yours. Don't start materializing you and Shaq's love. And stop comparing what Shaq is doing to what you see everyone else's man. Because trust me, you are not getting a full picture. Kirsten brings Shaq to the home she grew up in. She describes having a pretty good childhood with all her siblings and parents in the home. Then when her parents split up, it was very hard on her. She was 8 at the time. Kirsten says she projects her expectations of her dad onto Shaq. And I think that's quite common. I'm not saying it's right, but I think it's a common thing for people to do. You know, our parents influence us heavily. So if she was raised by a man who was a provider in the way she witnessed her dad be, it's no wonder she expects that in a husband. And I think that's a positive thing. I just think she has to be open to having her expectations and Shaq's expectations conjoined for the perfect mix of what's best for the relationship. It doesn't exactly, like, your man or Shaq doesn't have to mirror exactly how your dad was. He does not have to be just like your dad. Because I agree with Shaq. Don't force him. Don't force Shaq. Let Shaq do what he knows to do as a man for his family. Don't try to pressure him and box him into what you want. If Shaq's providence and leadership isn't enough for you, then you just move along after decision day. But you don't get to build a man into the dude you want. You want an adult. You don't want a robot or a Build-A-Bear or a little boy. You want a grown man, a fully developed man who has his own mind and exercises his own autonomy. You want a man to know what he wants. You don't want to push a guy into figuring out. No, you want the guy to be like, no, I'm able to make a decision for myself. Now, like I said, I do believe Shaq should have come financially ready since he knew he was coming on a show to get married. So I do get why Kirsten is alarmed. I'd be too. Shaq, that's your wife. she needs security. And Shaq isn't giving her assurance at all. So that's not going to cut it. He needs to have a plan. Shaq, you are not a single bachelor anymore. You have a whole wife under your leadership. Kirsten wants him to lead, but he seemingly doesn't have it all figured out yet. And that's just not like husband material. Not right now. I'm loving how Shaq and Kirsten, though, are actually having dialogue. Shaq is asking great, inquisitive questions, and Kirsten is elaborating and opening up more and more. So I do love to see them get beyond the surface like they've been longing to do. Shaq's godmother and godsister have come into town to visit with him and Kristen, and they're both beautiful women. Kirsten and Shaq both share a passion and an admiration for family, so I'm excited for them to both experience each other's families together and incorporate in their lives together. The godmother and godsister described Shaq to be very involved, very particular, very great at planning and gathering as a family, and I think that is a beautiful trait for a future patriarch to have. So that was a great compliment to Shaq. We move on to Jasmine and Aries. Jasmine is chilling with her best friend, having some wine. Jasmine, she says she still has hope that the marriage can work, and that confuses me. I don't think Jasmine really knows what she wants at this point. I don't know what Jasmine wants at this point. And I can't want more for Jasmine than she wants for herself. So whatever Jasmine wants is what Jasmine should get. Aries brings Jasmine to the card shop. He was an avid card collector growing up. He was even able to gain friends when he first moved to Nashville from the town he grew up in with his card collection. He gained those friends through mutual interest in card collecting. And I will say the last few episodes, Aries has been doing a stellar job of opening up. And I'm starting to understand him as a person a little bit more. And of course, when Aries, is explaining to her about the cards and stuff and his upbringing, Jasmine has nothing to add to the conversation. And that's just annoying. And that's why I said Jasmine doesn't know what she wants. How do you say your hope of the marriage will still work, but yet you're not putting in any work? So you're just wishing upon a star at this point. Her reason for not adding to the conversation is that she's fearful that he'll still leave her. But that can't be your mindset. You can't do tit for tat if you actually want the marriage, if you really want the marriage to still work. You have to give an effort, especially since you're finally getting from him what you've been asking for. And think about it. How will you pouting and sitting in silence get you any closer to him choosing you in the end? You don't want to open up because you don't know if he's going to stay, but your behavior is not making him stay in the first place. You're pushing him away. Aries' letter to his younger self was phenomenal. Like, it was my favorite of the whole episode. I appreciate Aries for really tapping into his past and trying to understand it more. He mentioned he's in therapy, and it seems to be really doing him some good. And I think Jasmine was being a bird this episode. She's the only spouse that had no feedback when they were reading the letter to their younger selves. No follow-up questions, nothing. Just no interest at all in her spouse opening up about his childhood. And I think she's going to lose the game she thinks she's playing because she's making Aries look like a saint with the behavior she's exhibiting. And she's even making herself look unattractive emotionally. So that's a double whammy against her with Aries. He's already not attracted to her physically, but you're not even emotionally attracting the dude. And he's actually trying. Jasmine speaks about her troubles moving to Memphis at a young age, pretty much being ripped from the environment she was used to. And that's super parallel to Aries' experience, like literally. So that would have been awesome for them to connect and bond over. They share a very similar experience that shapes who they are today. And I did love that Aries gave Jasmine feedback and comments, follow-up commentary after her, letter. So that was that good job, Aries. What a good sport. What do y'all think is Aries' game plan here? Do y'all think he's actually trying to make the marriage work past decision day at this point in the show? Like, he just did a 180. And I'm like, what is his motive? That's the only thing that has me on edge with him. I don't know if I can trust it. Aries has a letter that his dad wrote his mom, and he holds on to it to read sometimes. And I think that's super romantic for the letters to still even be in existence. But I also think it's a huge step to reveal those letters to Jasmine, for Aries to reveal them to Jasmine, because your parents' old letters, to each other, especially being that Aries' dad has passed. Those letters are sacred. And the particular letter that Aries was reading was just amazing. It's just amazing to see, his dad, not only capture through writing, but profess his love for Aries and Aries' mom, and praise his mom for the great job she was doing, and just all this accountability and responsibility and black boy joy and this, this profession of love. And I thought that was so awesome for Aries to have that letter as a memory of his father. So it was cool that Aries still uses that letter as a reference for guidance and comfort as he goes through life. And I do love that Jasmine was actually giving feedback and showing interest this time. Nicole and Chris. Nicole brings Chris to the deli because it makes her feel at home and just close to her Italian culture back in New York, and the food looks really good. Nicole said she had a great upbringing and she was given so much freedom that it was to her detriment. So she was out seeking acceptance and validation from her peers in all these negative ways. And I do like that she's putting her true story out there, just not sugarcoating it, putting it all out there, no matter how embarrassing it is, just for Chris to absorb, for him to decide how he wants to feel about the information, right? Nicole reads Chris's letter for him since Chris is driving at the time, and Chris lacked the relationship he really wanted with his dad. And he watched his mom with this abusive alcoholic guy. When Nicole reads her letter, it's equally as vulnerable and honest and touching as Chris. I cried for both letters. So I don't see how Nicole read both of their letters aloud without tearing up. It's just something about knowing what you know now and longing to have been able to have that wisdom as a teenager, like, dang, but that's not how life works. So it's cool. Chris brings Nicole to a paint store. His dad had a painting business, and Chris and his siblings all pitched in, working at the business growing up. His parents were divorced and his dad was in his life, but Chris still lacked that close relationship he wanted with his dad. He says his dad wasn't a good role model. And I do bet that's where Chris probably gets that soft temperament from his mom. Chris says the turning point with his dad was when his dad helped him with the dog, Coda. Chris said that the dog really helped the dad open himself up to love, and that was touching. Chris and Nicole have been vulnerable since day one, and I really think that's helpful to their union. I think they both have, the life experience to make it work with each other specifically. And they're just immersed in the process fully. So that's refreshing to see. And it's great that they can laugh together and they enjoy spending time together compared to some of the other couples who've been spending their marriages amid all this tension, right? Nicole asks Chris if he learned anything about her that changed how he feels about her, but he just pretty much acknowledges that she's just grown. She's grown from her past self. So regardless if he liked it or not, she's not that woman anymore. And I thought that was very fair. Chris's impression of his dad was really good. I don't even remember how his dad sounds, but Chris's rendition sounded accurate enough. Gina and Clint. Clint brings Gina to a soccer field. Clint had these big feet as a 9-year-old, so he wasn't a natural, but he took some valuable lessons from the game of soccer and his experience trying to play soccer and applied them to his life and where he is now. They were standing in the rain as if nothing was going on. So this conversation must have been really engaging. And Gina was being a great listener to him. So the scene gave me a little more hope for these two. Gina invites some of her stylists over to her and Clint's place so that they can get to know Clint a little better. And they just describe Gina to be a great boss who fosters an ideal work culture. Shaq and Kirsten invite Aries and Jasmine to play some type of like bow and arrow game. It was very similar to just like laser tag, except these like plastic bow and arrows. It was really funny. Jasmine and Kirsten had no clue what they were doing initially, so that was funny. Stuff like that is really hard for me to do, seriously, because I'll just laugh the whole time. And then I also hate being chased, so that'll just make me laugh even more, and then I'm gonna lose. I did like that the couples swapped to talk privately. Shaq and Jasmine are talking. She says that someday she actually feels they'll be married forever. And I'd love to see what those days look like in their household because I haven't seen that yet. Shaq says that Kirsten has high expectations of him, and I think he and Kirsten can actually meet somewhere in the middle and get what they both want. Like, I think they're both of them throwing it all out of proportion. Aries and Kirsten are talking. Kirsten says her and Shaq's toughest part is their communication, but overall they're doing well. Fine. After the games, Shaq and Kirsten are back home and they're still having the conversation about what Kirsten expects of Shaq. And I don't know why Kirsten can't just tell Shaq that they will be buying a home together. Because it's not like Kirsten doesn't have her own money. Shaq should not have to fund both of y'all's lifestyles without help if the help is needed. I think you should want to help him. Why not be a partner to your husband? You're not a child who relies on your parents for basic necessities. You were taking care of yourself just fine before Shaq, and you will continue to do so while in a relationship with him. He's not stepping in to be your father and treat you like his daughter. You're his wife. So you need to have your checkbook ready too. Because it's for the home that y'all will both be living in and raising a family in. So why wouldn't you want it to work? Why wouldn't you want to work together if that's what the household requires? Wife. Kirsten, you are not a city girl. You are a wife. But then Kirsten pretty much alludes that she was just joking the whole time, but Shaq didn't pick it up like that. And I don't think he's overreacting. I think he took when she said that, when she was making the thing about like how he needs to buy the house and stuff, like, I think he took what Kirsten said literally, not knowing she was being facetious. And now he's bringing it up to get clarity between y'all so that y'all are on the same page moving forward. And so that you're not disappointed based on the expectations that you set for him. So I hope they get to the end of this, get to the bottom of that. Kirsten, Shaq is not your sugar daddy. He does not have to pay a whole mortgage by himself. You can help. Thank you so much for watching my review. Episode was okay. We're getting along though. We're almost at the end. We're getting there, y'all. So thank you for tuning in and for hanging in there. And I'll catch you for the next video. Bye.